Where's my share? I need to share.
Okay. We're live. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everyone, to episode 45 of the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. We want to talk about iCloud security, as in what happened over the last week. But first, I have to ask Tom if he backed up his iCloud today.
Sorry, I was just taking a selfie. I don't have an iCloud. I've got a lot of other clouds. I've got a lot of different online storage, but iCloud is not one of them, amazingly enough.
So didn't it rain the other day? Isn't like the cloud this amorphous object that rains on people?
I think so. And if you don't back up your cloud, it gets really heavy, and sometimes it'll start storming. And if there's a surge, your data can be lost. So you have to make sure to back up your cloud and dump the contents of your cloud regularly. You don't want it getting too heavy.
I want my cloud to be described as Bob Ross when he paints, a nice little fluffy puppy cloud person.
Yeah,
but
with a happy little tree by it.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I assume iCloud is like. But apparently it's not.
Yeah. Apparently it stores lots and lots of we will say not family-friendly pictures of various celebrities in compromising positions.
Well, I don't want to jump ahead, but I was listening to all the commentary by the media outlets and everybody else, and it almost looks like they're blaming the victim. They're blaming the Jennifer Lawrences and the Rihannas and the Kate Upton, saying, well, you took that photo, what did you expect? And I'm sitting there screaming at the TV saying, look, two things happened. Not one of them was them taking an incriminating photo. It was them trusting their device, and two, somebody doing something really boneheaded and sharing said photos.
Yeah, so there's really, I think there are three failures that happened with this whole thing, and I will say, you know, if you're storing something that could potentially be incriminating, that could potentially get you in trouble, encrypt it, right? So it's not bad that they had something incriminating. We all have pieces of data, whether it's that one illegally downloaded movie or those MP3s you listen to. We've all got stuff that could, if we're going by the letter of the law, could get us in trouble. I've pirated music. I mean, I've done it. I admit it, right? We all have. Come on, let's not lie. Let's not kid ourselves. But it's wrong. It's illegal, and yeah, I could very well get in trouble for that. I don't do it anymore, but back then I really could have, got myself in some hot water. But they weren't stored encrypted at all in any fashion. They weren't zipped. They weren't zipped with encryption. It wasn't using PGP. It wasn't using anything like that to keep these safe. And then it was uploaded to a cloud service. Well, that's not a problem unless you've got a really, really bad password or really bad security questions or both. And in the majority of cases here, from what everyone's saying from Apple's statement, this looks like a very targeted attack at these celebrities, which, if you're a public person in a position of being in the public eye, being really famous, and kind of sought after, you really have to understand that people are going to be coming after you. Not just paparazzi, not just crazy fans trying to get your autograph, but people trying to get photos and stuff off your devices and text messages, all that stuff. If you don't take the steps to make a proper password, that stuff's gonna get out.
Well, let's take a step back. Just take a step back. So what happened? So what it sounds like is that somebody created a piece of software. I think they called it iBrew. To do something with the Apple's iCloud service to prevent what they call rate limiting. So if you type in your password wrong 3 or 4 times, it says we're going to stop you, or we're going to make you wait 5 minutes, or please call us, or do something. So instead of just constantly testing every single password, so they found a way to bypass that, and then they just hammered on it until they got in. And what it sounds like is what you said, is that their passwords weren't that strong. I mean, who knows? 8 characters? I mean, 8 characters can probably be, every single 8 character password can be broken in something like 3 or 4 hours now.
Yeah, it's pretty trivial.
So I mean, so then you have the thing that this wasn't socially engineered. I mean, unless they got the password and then answered the security questions, which the problem is, like you said, if you're a public figure, all your security question answers are free reign. I mean, Sarah Palin learned this the hard way 10 years ago.
Yeah, you know, her security question was, you know, something like, "What's your dog's name?" And you know, she always had her dog in front of a camera, like little Fluffy. I don't know what her dog's name is, but you know, everyone knew her dog was Fluffy. So when the guy hit reset Sarah Palin's password, oh well, what's the name of your dog? He typed in Fluffy, and guess what? It worked.
So, I mean,
lie. Please lie. When you get the security questions, mother's maiden name, name of pet. You know, I went to high school at Banana. They don't have to be, you know, dumb, and please try to remember them or use a password manager to write them down, but don't tell the truth in security questions. It seems really easy, but don't do it. Just lie. Blatantly lie.
I mean, LastPass has a field, username, password, then they have a notes field for you. So so put your security password there because, I mean, it's better there. You're writing it down and you're not hiding or obfuscating it in some weird area. It is right there. But again, for someone to do that, they need physical access to your computer, and we have that whole problem, which we've explained. So the first part was, so they got them, and then they decided to distribute them, which was another problem because now the hackers are breaking the law. I mean, getting into it's another second felony, and all of this got out, and it's sad and everything else. But the problem was that Apple replied with their very secretive PR speak, saying we are deeply investigated, we are deeply saddened by this, and everything else, and which sounds good, but you're going to see in a few minutes that I don't think it's good at all. They allow this information to get out, and they have hundreds of millions of items stored there. And they're basically saying, "Oops, we're sorry."
I have trouble, and I realize Apple's two-factor authentication isn't fantastic. It really needs to be better. It needs to pop up all the time, not just some of the time, not just when you're using a credit card, not just when you're getting into secure areas. It needs to pop up, you know, when you go to restore a device, when you go to download an iCloud backup. It needs to pop up and start screaming. If you're not already logged into that iPad or that iPhone, it needs to, you know, red sirens and lights are going off and says, "Whoa, dude, we need your two-factor authentication code." If you don't do that, you know, even something as trivial as just recovering a backup can mean someone gets your entire camera roll full of everything you've ever taken.
Well, hold on, Tom. You're taking a step ahead. So the problem that we have is, so everyone said turn on Apple's two-factor authentication, and me being the guy who has two Apple devices, a Mac and an iPad, and once had an iPhone, I went to set it up, and the first thing it said is, "We're going to text message you," and I go, "That doesn't help me because I'm at school and I have no cell service. I need something else. Why couldn't it be a time-based code? Why couldn't they use Google Authenticator, send me a key? Fine, give me their own app that calculates a time-based code. Do something if you don't want to use Google's Authenticator, but don't send me a text message. I can't deal with them. I can't deal with a phone call. I can't deal with a text message." So I stopped for a long time. I never did it. Then when I heard about this, I went, let me check it again. And they do have a mechanism with sending you an iMessage or something like that. And I said, well, an iMessage is good because when I need it, I'm on my Mac. I'm not at a random computer. So I set it all up. Everything seemed to work. They did a good job with making me write down my recovery key, which I put into LastPass, the two-factor code, which they verified that worked. They got rid of the security questions. And so now I think I'm good. Then I read on Twitter that people are saying that it doesn't pop up. So I went to school and I verified it. I went into iCloud on a brand new computer. It's a PC. Has never touched an Apple device, I don't think, in 3 months. Then I logged into iCloud, no prompt. I went to find my iPad. It promptly found it. I said I didn't hit erase, but erase was right there. And I'm thinking to myself, So showing you where it is, at that point it should absolutely pop up a screen that says two-factor. And I had all my documents. I could have just clicked on everything. There was no mechanism to prevent me from doing it.
Right. Apple has come out and basically said in so many words that, hey, our two-factor isn't really meant to protect your data, just your wallet. So good luck. And that's not a good answer. That's simply the wrong answer. And Apple has done this before. Remember back in the day when the first, and it's not the first ever, but the first really big Mac malware attack happened, and a bunch of Macs got attacked. And I believe it was a Java exploit. But someone wrote malware specifically for Apple's architecture, specifically for that operating system. And Apple denied it, up and down, categorically. No, we don't get viruses at all. There were even commercials at the time saying Macs can't get viruses because there are none out there. Well, guess what? They ate their words really quickly. And Apple actually has anti-malware security protections in place today in their operating system because of that attack, because it got so much press. That's going to be what has to happen here. Because right now, their two-factor, as you've seen, it's useless.
And the worst part is that they tell you to do it. I mean, it goes everywhere. They say turn it on, turn it on. If you want to be more secure, turn it on. But it doesn't stop you from doing anything. And if that's the case, now I feel even less secure. Maybe if I want to reset my password, it asks me for that. But it just if it doesn't work, either don't put it in or make it work, which is not hard to do. I think what Apple's trying to do is saying the problem with two-factor, and we've explained this, and we've told you to watch. We have the show. We talked about it. It's not like a one-step solution. You have to sit there and say, I'm ready for this lifestyle change of always having my phone or always having a device that can receive a code or whatever it is, and knowing that there's no way out. If you lose that code or the ability to get it, you're done. And I don't think Apple's ready for those support calls yet.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, Apple is always, absolutely always about convenience, about the user experience, and there's nothing beautiful or intuitive about trying to log into a device and going, oh, I don't have my phone. Oh, I can't use my iPad now. Oh, I can't log into my Mac. There's nothing Apple-y about that, right? Steve Jobs wouldn't have looked at that and gave it the thumbs up and said, yes, that's good. Because it's not. It's a horrible user experience. It's really annoying. And it's also very secure. As we've talked about before, it's convenience versus security. And Apple is always on the side of more convenience. And it's really, really annoying. It's bad in this case. It's very bad, generally.
Well, I mean, and that's the problem. So now now that everyone's writing to turn it on and we find out that it's not working, everyone who is not reading the not part of it is going about their day saying, oh, now I feel more secure. But every time I need to do it, I have to enter this PIN, and no one can guess my security questions. Let me just do more nefarious things and go from there. And it's just wrong. And I'm hoping everyone's listening so we can explain that.
Yeah. And you know, when we go back to the root of the problem, the root of the problem was, these people, if two-factor had been implemented correctly, and if these people had turned it on, there shouldn't have been a problem. Unless they were socially engineered somewhere into giving up that code, they shouldn't, the hackers shouldn't have gotten access, right? It should be fine. It should be totally locked down. But they didn't have two-factor turned on. In this case, even if they did, it probably wouldn't have helped. But their security questions and their passwords were horrible. Yeah, they weren't just, average, because for that many people to get attacked and that many photos to get leaked, and that kind of access, you can't have just a standard, average, everyday password, right? This has got to be something pretty horrendous. And we'll see in the coming days. That's my take on the situation. That's what Apple has officially come out and said. It looks like just a really targeted hammering on a celebrity's user account.
Well, again, the last thing we want to do is blame victims here. I mean, yes, they're doing, yes, their passwords are not strong, but at the end of the day, Apple doesn't I don't want to say they don't want you to make it strong. They don't go out of their way to say, maybe your password should be longer, whatever it is.
Right.
They make you do a four-digit PIN, which you can change, but it's a four-digit PIN. I think they don't really have a limit on your iCloud password. I don't think it's like 8 characters or more or something like that. They leave it up to you, which is not a terrible thing to say. Look, it's your prerogative to make it strong or weak, but that's it.
Yeah, people have to understand. It's the one good thing that's going to come out of this of what happened is people are going to be thinking about this now. What am I actually storing on iCloud? What do I actually have in Google Drive or Google Photos at this point? My camera backs up every picture I take. Do I have proprietary business documents in there? Do I have photos I really don't want getting out? Do I got pictures of the college dorm party from 6 years ago that I wouldn't want my employer seeing? I mean, there's a lot of questions, and chances are you're not going to be the one to get targeted, right? The vast majority of people aren't going to be subject to a massive attack like this.
Well,
it's worth taking a look. It's worth doing a digital inventory and saying, hey, what kind of stuff do I have locked away in Google and Apple and Dropbox and Flickr and whatever, and saying what you really need and what could potentially come back to bite you. And if it could, and if you want to save it, encrypt it. There's a lot of good tools out there.
Well, before we do that, before we move into there, which is clearly what we want to do, is I have an iPad in front of me, my iPad 2, running whatever, the latest iOS 7.2, whatever it is. If you just go into settings, scroll most of the way down, not even halfway down, there's a section called iCloud. It should pop up your account, and it has little toggles on, off, and you turn on what you want. And the clear benefit here is when you get a new iPhone or a new iPad, and you want to, it says, please enter your Apple ID, and it will pull all that information down. By the time you get home from the Apple Store, or by the time you even leave the Apple Store, there'll be stuff there that reminds you of your old iPhone. You don't have to go home and archaically hook it up to a cable and restore from a backup. So it's convenient in that sense. If you take photos and you want to share them, PhotoStream is there. It has the online backup. It contacts you at a contact. It brings it to your Mac or brings it to your other iCloud account. It's a cloud service. It's there for convenience. So go there, check the toggles. What do you want? For me, it looks like photos are on. Now, the good part is I don't take photos with my iPad, especially my iPad 2. So it doesn't matter to me. But turn them on, turn them off, do what you see fit, but it's there. But let's move on. So these photos got out. I don't blame the celebrities. I don't even think they knew that the photo was backed up. I think they took a photo, they got a pop-up from the permissions on their device that says, "Would you like this app to store your photos or access your photos?" And what are they going to say? Yes, of course. So they hit OK. It turns on iCloud, the photo syncing, and it goes from there. And maybe because these celebrities, I mean, the iPhone's at iPhone 6 next week, most likely, they've probably had a couple generations. So with these generations, they got a new iPhone, they downloaded all their stuff, they said, oh, all my photos are there, and they went on their way. They didn't think that installing Dropbox or installing Flickr or Snapchat or Facebook or Google Plus to hit no on the rest of those cloud services. They just probably hit OK. So now those photos are being uploaded in the background to all those other cloud services.
Right. I think there's a general disconnect. It's unfortunate, but I think the vast majority of users, and we've seen this time and time again, the vast majority of people that have a smartphone don't exactly know what's going on with it. And it's partly because we've obfuscated a lot of things and made a lot of things shinier, more easy to use. Don't worry about those options. We'll just set it all for you. And stuff's backing up. Some people I know would be verified that it's somewhere a cloud provider has photos backed up. Now, no one's actually clicking through and looking at them, right? But just the fact that they're not right here, the fact that they're somewhere other than the device they took the picture on, would terrify them. And I don't think people understand exactly what's going on in the devices that they use, especially when it comes to pictures, especially when it comes to text
Tom, say
messages
your
or
last
anything.
sentence
Because
again.
if the
You cut out, so say the last thing you said.
Sorry about that. I had to type something to get my screensaver to go away, and it muted me. Yeah, when it comes to these phones, there's a lot that the manufacturers have done to increase convenience, to get rid of transparency, get rid of options and switches and buttons. No, don't worry about those things. We'll set it up for you. We'll make the intelligent decisions for you so you don't have to worry about it. And most people say, oh, okay, sure, that's fine. And it ends up being a really great user experience and really easy to use. But there are some people I know out there who would be terrified to know that their pictures that are on this device are somewhere other than this device as well. Not that anyone's really looking at them or hunting them out, but the fact that their pictures are somewhere else, out of their control. So, like, if they want to, they could drown this phone in a bathtub. Or throw it into a shredder or whatever and get rid of all of that data. And now, because the data is somewhere else, they can't do that as effectively. I know people that simply wouldn't want that turned on, but by default it is. And I like it. I've got it turned on. I think it's very convenient. But then again, I know how these things work. I understand exactly what's going on because I read a lot about these devices, because I do this for a living. Most people don't. And I think, you get into trouble when you don't understand what's going on in the device that you use, especially when you're using it to take pictures or have private conversations or, add friends on Facebook or whatever the system is. If you don't understand what's actually going on, you could get yourself into some trouble.
Well, I have two things. First, you're absolutely right. I actually advocate for turning it on, but understanding what's going on. So find the cloud service you want to keep your photos in. Doesn't matter what it is. If that's Facebook, it's Facebook. I prefer Google Plus and or Dropbox because I've said I've trusted Google Plus or Google in the past to not do anything nefarious with the photos. And I have two-factor on my Google account. I have two-factor on Dropbox, but Dropbox has had issues. But all of that said, I make sure I go in and I check all those settings. So the first time you launch Google Plus or the first time you launch Dropbox, it says, would you like us to keep a backup of your photos? You hit OK, and the next question it asks is Wi-Fi or whenever after you take a photo. And this is where people get into some problems. They hit just whatever. They just hit OK to get rid of the dialog box, and then Google Plus or Dropbox starts uploading the photos eating their data plan. That's the first problem. So Flickr is also the same way, or Facebook. So just go into those services under settings, under photos, and see if it's backing up your photos. You don't need a backup in every single place. You need it in one spot or two spots that you trust. Because again, if you're taking photos or things you don't want to get out, you don't want that everywhere. The second thing you have to be careful with is somebody said, well, I'm going to go back to using my old trusty digital camera that's not connected to the internet. And I said, that doesn't help. Let's say you're taking those same racy photos. What are you going to do? You're going to put the SD card into your computer. If you have Dropbox enabled, the first thing it's going to do is find that SD card. It's going to say, would you like us to import your photos? If you don't upload them, if you don't say no in time, it's going to start uploading them. And now you're back to square one. That barrier that you tried to create no longer exists.
Right. You have to really be careful with that stuff. And, we didn't even get to the last bastion of security that will destroy you each and every time, because it always does. The human element, because it's always present. You're not going to take racy photos and just keep them for yourself, because that's no fun, right? No, you have to send them to a person, right? Most, if not all, of these photos that celebrities took were sent to someone else. Do you trust that person? Will you continue trusting that person? Is there anything that person might do to betray that trust? Could this person turn around and upload these photos? Even if you send them through like the highest military-grade encryption, if that photo can reach someone's eyeballs, it can be taken off and shared, right? It can be, captured in some way and passed on to another party. And you gotta really trust, if you're dealing with sensitive data, you have to really trust the person on the other end isn't going to mess up your security, isn't going to have their phone stolen from a bar, especially if it's a prototype iPhone. or put it on Dropbox or upload it to Facebook to a folder with, horribly contrived piracy or privacy settings. Um, you have to really consider who you're sending it to, not necessarily the steps you were taking, because you can be as secure as you want. As soon as you send that data out, it's in someone else's hands, and you have lost control.
It's one again. That's another thing, and we have to. And you're right. Sending it to other people, now it's in the hands of everyone else. So, look, I don't want to say don't take photos you don't want anywhere else, and I don't want to say don't post on the internet that you don't want getting out, because that's clearly not right. But at the end of the day, you have to be considerate. You have to say, this shouldn't be. And here's the thing: for all intents and purposes, a public figure. I'm a school teacher. If any of these bad things get online, I have to be careful. If I take a picture of alcohol, I mean, having a beer that's grounds for dismissal, and I have to be careful where that goes out. So I have to be careful what I say online, and these celebrities should know that they have a target on their back. What I hope they do is they ask somebody who's tech savvy to say, hey, I need help with some basic security, and I really hope that someone takes them aside and say, look, you're a public figure. If you're going to do something bad, do it. This is how you should go about doing, if you're doing something that you don't want to get out. This is how you encrypt. This is what, if you want to use an iPhone, make sure you have a better password, whatever it is. So.
Yeah, there's definitely a way to avoid being in this situation, but if you have to send sensitive information, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And there's a right way to manage your cloud data and a wrong way to manage your cloud data. I know we said this, a couple weeks back, but, take a step back with digital inventory. Look at Flickr, Google Drive, Dropbox, and we're not just talking about, racy pictures. If you say, oh, I've never taken a racy picture ever, that's dumb. Why would I do that? You have tax documents sitting around in Dropbox. Dropbox isn't an encrypted service, right? It's not a trust no one service. If someone at Dropbox was malicious, they could go in and get that data. Now, they would probably be promptly fired, we hope. But can you be guaranteed of that? Same with Google Drive. What do you have in Google Drive? What do you have on Flickr or Facebook or you name it? You have to make sure when you're keeping things online that you trust the service provider and that the data, if it is compromised, isn't enough to ruin your life or get you fired or get you in trouble or you name it, just to avoid hardship.
Deep breaths. Because that's what it is. Deep breaths. It's everyone is starting to see that. And look, I'm a big proponent of the cloud, and there's others who say the cloud's the devil and it's the second coming of this terrible place. It's just how you use it, just like everything else. And we just have to take deep breaths. And before we do anything, we have to ask ourselves: do we really need that internet-connected toaster? Do we really need that camera-enabled watch? Do we really need this? What's going on with it? And we have to go from there. But I think we've pretty much exhausted this topic. So I say we cut out a little early.
Sounds good to me. And remember, if it gets out that you have your toast burned black, and I find out because it's connected to Twitter, I'm dunking you. No one should eat toast like that, ever.
So, exactly. So, anyway, okay. Until next week, we'll see everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.